This video describes the possibility of a Battambang Cambodia retirement for $900 per month. Before I explain in detail, let me tell you how I learned this. I left the USA in 2007 at the age of 46. After 13 years living internationally, I know the relative cost of living in 65 different countries. Many retirement and pre-retirement aged non-traditional thinkers are interested in the shortest path to freedom. So as I travel the world, I write about retiring cheap in paradise worldwide. I've written over 50 reports so far. I know of no other individual person that knows more about the cost of living than me worldwide. According to the US government, more than 40% of single retired US citizens are trying to live on less than $1,500 per month. Based upon that, I estimate that about 60% of retired people worldwide are having an even greater struggle funding their retirement. So in 2016, I decided to start sharing what I learned about living internationally and retiring cheap internationally for peanuts. That's my story in a nutshell. Click the link in the notes below this YouTube video for an explanation of our Retire Cheap in Paradise memberships and benefits. Okay, let's talk about Battambang Cambodia now. Would you be interested in learning whether or not a Battambang Cambodia retirement for $900 a month is a possibility for you? Battambang cost of living. Locals in Battambang pay as little as $50 US per month for workers type apartments. That's locals. Foreign volunteers here pay in the range of about $100 per month to $250 per month in rent to teach and help locals at NGOs and other places here. Retirement age people from the Western countries pay a little more if they want more space or want to be closer to the center of the city. $200 to $350 a month is not unusual. Some will pay more, of course, who want more space, but utilities are around $80 US per month, including AC and Wi-Fi. With $350 rent and $80 in utilities, that's about $14 per night. That is typically a little cheaper than you would pay for short-term rentals like hotels or Airbnb. That said, we pay less than $7 per night for our hotel room with a private bath. To see the inside of our hotel room, watch the Battambang Best Cheap Food video. Just click below. The following table is an estimate of what a temporary visitor would spend for the big three expenses: food, accommodations, and local transportations. Some frugal people would be able to live on less than this once they learned all the tricks to save money in Battambang. With your highest expense, rent, out of the way, you can see why a Battambang Cambodia retirement for $900 a month or even less is a distinct possibility. If you come to the web page, there's a table here and it gives you a range of costs for a backpacker frugal type, ranging from about $350 a month all the way up to someone like me who would want a one-bedroom apartment with a kitchen closer to $1,000 per month. This is an estimated cost of living for 1 month for one person as a temporary visitor. It only includes rent, 2 meals per day, and local transportation. For a full understanding of what it would cost you to live here, visit numbeo.com Battambang and add any items you spend money on that are not in the table. Never move anywhere until you have visited first personally to verify the living costs for your lifestyle and needs. I'm not guaranteeing these prices. These are just my notes and estimates from the time of my visit and this post. Your costs will likely be drastically different depending on your lifestyle and the time since this post. The above numbers are for one person and do not include alcohol, tours, or extra. There's a free report explaining how the cost of living table works. Just click it when you come to the web page. Battambang Livability Factors. Here are my livability factors. You should consider your own personal livability factors before deciding whether you should visit to verify whether or not Battambang Cambodia retirement for $900 a month will be suitable for your lifestyle and needs. Okay, walkability. Hi, if I retired in Battambang, I would live in the central city. Everything I would need would be in walking distance so I would not need a vehicle. So Battambang is highly walkable. Internet, medium. This was the 4th city we investigated in Cambodia during our 1-year Southeast Asia tour of the best place to retire cheap. The information we shared for the first 3 cities is the same. I recommend you buy a 4G cell card for $1 and add 20 gigabytes of data for $2 to your Android. Look for the cell card sign in the main market. There's also a link here on the web page. That worked great as a hotspot for us when too many people jumped on the router or we were too far from the router. This was the key to staying connected all over Cambodia. Presumably you would have your own router in your apartment if you retired here, so you would have no issues. Okay, food, medium. The food in Cambodia is a little higher priced than in Vietnam. In a town of smaller size like Battambang, you would expect to struggle for diversity in your international food choices, but that's not the case here. There are about 10 nice restaurant choices for international foods in central Battambang. For the most part, you'll have to pay more money for international at about 4 to 8 US per entree, but it's nice to have the options. The more local owned and operated restaurants are cheaper, entrees ranging from $1.50 to $4. If your budget is tight, you'll want to learn how to cook at home also. The supermarkets are not cheap in Battambang, but the local open air market is full of reasonably priced fruits and vegetables. Okay, weather, medium. Average highs for days seasonably range from a low of 86 Fahrenheit or 30 Celsius in November to a high of 96 Fahrenheit or 36 Celsius in April. Average lows range seasonally from a low of 67 Fahrenheit or 19 Celsius in January to a high of 76 Fahrenheit or 24 Celsius in April. The rainy season is May through October, when 7 or more inches or 165 millimeters of rain falls each month, the strongest rainy period being September through October. Things to do. Some would say medium, but it would be low for me. It is medium or high if you love small towns with slow rhythms. In general, Cambodia feels like you jumped into a time machine and found yourself in the past. There aren't many tourists here in Battambang, and the ones that show up seem to be stuck in first or second gear. That may sound bad, but it's sort of fun to just relax and let time pass by. I grew up in a small town in central California. We used to joke that there was nothing to do there. When we left the house, we would say, "Mom, we're going up to the gas station to watch them change tires on cars." She knew that meant we were going to be riding our bikes around. That was 4 decades before play dates were invented. As a boy, we swam in rivers, we went fishing, made tree houses, built forts, water skied, snow skied, and raced electric slot cars. Later, as a teenager, we smoked a ton of pot and listened to Led Zeppelin and Hendrix. If I decided to live in a small town like that today, I would hike, dirt bike, play on the internet, cook, teach English or math, work out, eat out a lot, play cards, start a small business, volunteer at an NGO, have as much sex as possible, and write a novel. You'll have to design your own fun in a town this size. Okay, expats, medium. The Facebook page for Battambang expats is fairly active, has about 500 members. This would be where you would want to ask specific questions that an expat is likely to understand and appreciate your concern. Everything from, what are you paying in rent? Do you know where I can find an apartment or house? Or do they have peanut butter, sauerkraut, and Oreo cookies in this town? Yes, yes, and yes. But please don't put both peanut butter and sauerkraut on the same Oreo cookie, okay? Okay, medical. I've been to the clinic. I have not been to the clinic or hospital in Battambang, but research indicates that you should visit the Handa Clinic for emergency care, go next door to the World Mate Emergency Hospital otherwise. Both of these facilities typically have English speakers and caregivers present. As usual, a town of this size may not have the advanced care you would expect in Phnom Penh, Siem Reap, Ho Chi Minh, or Bangkok. In that case, they may just stabilize you for transfer to the appropriate facility outside of town. Sources provided. Okay, visa requirements. For your exploratory visit to Cambodia, you can obtain a visa upon arrival at the international airports in Phnom Penh and Siem Reap. If you use the e-visa program as such, it can only be used for entry through these two airports. If you intend to arrive through one of the land border crossings like we did from Vietnam, the e-visa will not be accepted. At the land border crossings, you'll need to fill out the forms again. In this case, bring the passport photo with you to immigration. Or in either case, actually. There are 10 countries that must get a visa in advance. The tourist visa is 30, and the 30-day period can be extended for an additional 30 days for $50. If you're planning on staying longer than 60 days, then get an ordinary visa from the start. If you're 55 or older, no longer working, I suggest getting a retirement visa or 𝐄𝐻 visa for 6 to 12 months. The 6 or 12-month 𝐄𝐻 visa is multi-entry. I haven't obtained the 𝐄𝐻 visa myself yet, but I was told the requirements are minimal compared to other countries in Southeast Asia. There are also student visas, employment visas, and business visas. Let me remind you, all of this is in writing on the web page, so you don't need to memorize it. Okay, real estate. This is not professional advice, but I would not buy real estate in Cambodia. If someone recommends you to buy Cambodia, they probably have a conflict of interest with you. Just lease month to month. The rents are cheap. You can just hand the keys back to the landlord when you leave. If you want to own real estate, buy it in a more economically safe country, such as the US or others, and live off the rents you collect in a more expensive country to live in the cheap country like Cambodia. Hire a property manager back home to manage your real estate. Banking. Again, this is not professional advice, but leave your money in your home country. It's much easier to get into a mess than to get out of one. If you want to store money outside your home country, don't put it in a developing country bank. Put it somewhere safe like Switzerland. When you need money here, just go to an ATM. Pollution. In general, it's better to not swim in rivers immediately downstream from cities in Southeast Asia, unless there's some government record of periodic testing of the water. The further you get from the cities and industrial areas, the safer the water generally is. There's a lake a few hours from Battambang if you would like to spend a water weekend in nature, link provided. Battambang is a relatively smaller city with very little observable pollutants in the air generally. In the dry season, you'll experience dust, especially since many of the roads surrounding Battambang are unpaved. While we were there, the air was moderate due to ground fires upwind. Battambang. Overall desirability score. Medium for me. I could spend a year in Battambang writing a novel. The biggest problem writers have is finding long periods of silence so their thoughts can be woven into a story that remains internally consistent. But once the novel is finished, I would want to move along. Battambang is steeped in culture, and history flows from the buildings and temples all around you. But historical culture is not the same as living culture created all around you in present time. I would want something that at that sort of level of vibrancy for a permanent retirement place. A high bar, I know. Over the next month or two, I'll publish my Best of the World series, Best in Southeast Asia, Best of the Americas, Best of Europe, and Best of the World reports for retiring cheap. Stay tuned. If you're finding any value here, could you please like it, comment, share, or subscribe? Your simple act of kindness will move us up in the Google and YouTube search rankings so our business grows faster. If you'd like to learn how to fire your boss and live in paradise for peanuts, grab a free copy of my ebook, How to Fire Your Boss and Travel the World. Okay, Battambang, Cambodia, walking tour. I've created a walking tour of you showing my 7 favorite things you must see in the city of Battambang, Cambodia. There's a video. Just come to the webpage, watch the video if it looks fun. There's also an interactive Google map. Just click the map and start walking. It's also interactive, so you can add or remove anything that doesn't look interesting to you. Okay, next up, things to do near Battambang. After you've explored the city, there are 10 stops that I think you should see. We took this tour and we're including our guide's phone number so you could take it if you like. There's a video here. Watch the video. If it looks fun, use WhatsApp and contact our tour guide. The other guides went to a place that didn't have a sunset in the background for the bats, so we recommend using our tour guide. His name is Mr. Lim, and you can contact him directly by texting him on WhatsApp. The phone number is on our webpage. Okay, Battambang Cambodia nightlife. If you're like me, you probably like to go out once in a while at night, hear some live music, enjoy a few adult beverages, and get to know a city both at night and during the day. We put together a nightlife walking tour for you and an interactive Google map, just like before. If you enjoy the video, click the map and start walking. Okay, Battambang, best cheap food and life. We also toured the restaurants. We picked our favorite restaurants and put them on a list for you. That's all in a video. Come to the web page, watch our best cheap food and life video. We only list restaurants here if we love them. Watch the video we ordered, what we paid in the above video. If it looks interesting, click the links we discussed in the videos. It'll also give you an idea of whether or not Battambang is your cup of tea, whether it's not, it's worth a site visit. Okay, Battambang facts and history. Here's some interesting Battambang facts and history. Battambang was founded in the 11th century by the Khmer Empire. The Battambang province is the major source of rice for all of Cambodia. Battambang's French colonial architecture is some of the best preserved in the country. Much of modern-day Cambodia was taken by Siam, or Thailand, for 100 years, starting in 1795. Battambang was the administrative center for this part of Thailand during that period. The Thai-speaking Apawang family, a branch of the royal Khmer family, ruled this area of Siam during the period ending in 1907. When this area of Cambodia became part of the French colony, was in 1907, this area was administered by Siam until it was annexed by the French, and then it's been administered by Phnom Penh since. The French offered to protect the Khmer Empire from its strongest neighbors, Vietnam and Thailand, in return for becoming French Indochina. French development during colonization made Battambang the second largest city in Cambodia. The streets were laid out in a grid pattern. The park along the riverfront was created. The French colonial architecture flourished, and the city grew on both sides of the river once the two bridges framing the town were completed in 1917. The railroad from Phnom Penh to Thailand was also completed during the French colonial period. The significant changes transformed Battambang from a remote outpost to a provincial capital city that was the most developed in the country outside of Phnom Penh. In the last census of 2012, there were about 200,000 people living in Battambang. If you buy anything using our links, such as flights, tours, or accommodations, you'll pay nothing extra, but we'll earn a small commission. Okay, best area to stay in Kep. Here are a few suggestions for you. There's a hostel. This is probably where this link is where I would stay next if I were tight on money and I wanted to be surrounded by a society of people discovering Battambang. We stayed in another place that was a little cheaper. It was unimaginably cheap, and we got our own beautiful clean room and bathroom. Watch our best cheap food video to see the inside of that hotel room. And then there's a, by the way, there's a link to it here. There's a step above. This would be a great place if you desire celebrating romance in luxury and don't need to be so close to the old town area of Battambang. It's a little more expensive, but for a celebration it would be lovely. Tuk-tuk rides to and from town are less than 4 kilometers, which would be about $2. Okay, Airbnb. If we return for a month, we want a kitchen. There's a lack of inventory of apartments with kitchens on the day of this writing. And at the time of this writing, we would make offers in this neighborhood for about $20 to $25 per night for a 30-day stay. If you're new to Airbnb, use this code provided at checkout to get a big discount. Stay in an Airbnb to verify whether or not Battambang Cambodia retirement for $900 a month makes sense for you. Okay, cheapest flights and transportation. We almost always get our cheapest flights on Skyscanner, a link provided on the webpage. They have a web crawler that's constantly looking for the cheapest prices all over the world. As usual, we found the cheapest flights to Battambang on Skyscanner. We did not fly into Cambodia. We transferred from Vietnam to Cambodia as described in a previous post, link provided. Battambang is the fourth city we have visited. We visited 𝐻EP, Kampot, and Phnom Penh, and see our retired cheap reports for those, links provided. Next we go to Siem Reap. We've written retired cheap reports about all of these places. We booked the bus from Phnom Penh to Battambang at this link, and the bus from Battambang to Siem Reap at this other link. They're all on the web page. Final thoughts. If you're interested in the subject of present moment awareness, my new videos on that subject are now being posted here at link provided. Please subscribe to Vagabond Buddha or our YouTube channel to watch us move around the world, 65 countries so far. To find out our members only prices and benefits, watch the video on the bottom of the web page. This is Dan of Vagabond Buddha. Thank you for your interest in our Battambang Cambodia retirement for $900 a month. The world's your home. What time will you be home for dinner? We have 4 other videos about Battambang Cambodia: retired cheap in Cambodia, best cheap food, nightlife tour, city walking tour, and best tour outside the city. Click more information below this video for our webpage with all the other Battambang videos embedded therein and 50 other retired cheap reports. Vagabond Awake, and if you're enjoying this video, could you please subscribe, like it, comment? Any of those things would help us in the search rankings and improve our business, so I can get enough money together to buy her a new pair of shoes. She has holes in the bottom of her shoes.
No, I don't.
Please help us.